Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel GMB SHOW. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Mark Labbett, also known as the Beast from The Chase, has undergone a remarkable weight loss transformation over the years after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Chaser Mark Labbett, better known as the Beast, has been wowing fans with his incredible weight loss journey. In a candid chat on This Morning this week, he talked about his days prior to fame when he was an overweight maths teacher and not one of the country's most recognizable faces from TV. At 57, the Devon-born quiz maestro shared the details about the dramatic changes to his life that resulted in a substantial drop in his weight, earning him plenty of praise from admirers. One impressed Twitter user exclaimed, "Mark Labbett has lost some weight, looking good," while another commented, "Mark looks incredible after dropping the weight. Watching his interview, he seems like such a lovely guy." Mark, who debuted on the ITV show hosted by Bradley Walsh in 2009, hasn't hidden the fact he's struggled with his weight and appearance in the past, but he reached a turning point during the COVID lockdown in 2020. In his school teaching days back in 2003, Mark reportedly tipped the scales at his heaviest, 29 stone. When he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 4 years later, he implemented some drastic lifestyle in order to prevent any further decline in his health, reports Plymouth Live. Embracing a more nutritious diet and ramping up physical activity led to him bidding farewell to a whopping 10 stone. He now claims he's the fittest and slimmest he's been in 3 decades, having lost a total of around 64 kilograms, all while towering impressively at a height of 6'6". His noticeable weight loss started in the 2020 COVID lockdown, but he had already slimmed down by 3 stone before the country went into lockdown. He put some of the lockdown loss down to running around with his hyperactive toddler who was at home with him rather than in nursery. Speaking on Loose Women last year, he confessed, "I found at the end of the evening, instead of going to the fridge for late-night snacking, all I could do was collapse on the bed." His trusty Labrador Retriever, Baloo, also contributed to his changes, as discussed on ITV's The Pet Show with Dermot O'Leary and Joanna Page. "I was walking him around the fields, taking me places. I think he's helped a lot, simply because I'm doing more activity." Mark, who split from his long-term girlfriend Haley Palmer last year, also explained that a low-sugar and low-carb diet were key to his complete nutrition overhaul, highlighting that he slimmed down without any surgical help after being recommended against a gastric band due to his particular metabolism. An interesting twist came when Mark experienced a loss of taste and smell, symptoms that led to less eating and added weight loss over a fortnight. Now that he's feeling and looking his best, Mark remains a firm fixture on ITV's The Chase in Britain, despite no longer appearing on the show's US version, a change that's been linked to a significant fall in ratings. Mark Labbett had always been a towering presence on The Chase, his deep voice and calculating stare enough to make even the boldest contestant crumble. But behind the scenes, the Beast was fighting a battle that no quiz could prepare him for. It all started one evening after filming. Mark was heading home, replaying the final round in his head, when a sudden wave of dizziness made him grip the railings outside the studio. His heart thundered in his chest, his breath ragged. He knew he wasn't well, but he'd spent years shrugging off small warnings. This time, it wasn't something he could ignore. At the hospital, the doctor's words hit harder than any defeat on The Chase. "Your weight is putting serious strain on your heart, Mark. If you don't make changes, you're putting your life at risk." 10 stone. That was how much Mark needed to lose to give himself a fighting chance. It sounded impossible, like facing a final chase alone with 20 steps to catch. But this wasn't about TV ratings or quiz glory. This was about seeing his son grow up, about living. The next morning, Mark looked in the mirror, seeing himself not as the Beast, but as Mark, a father and a man who deserved a future. He made a promise then and there to himself and to his son that he would not give up. Gone were the greasy takeaways at midnight after filming. Instead, Mark started walking, even if it was just around the block at first. Each step felt like a small victory, a move towards regaining control. He swapped sugar-laden snacks for protein-rich meals and learned to cook dishes that were not only healthy but surprisingly delicious. It wasn't easy. Filming days were long, temptations constant. The green room tables were lined with crisps, biscuits, and cakes, and sometimes Mark would pause, reaching out before pulling back, reminding himself why he started. The weight began to fall off, not in huge chunks, but in steady, quiet victories. A belt notch looser, a shirt fitting more comfortably, a walk that didn't leave him breathless. Each pound lost was a question answered correctly in the toughest quiz of his life. When Mark returned to the chase set after shedding 10 stone, even Bradley Walsh stopped in his tracks. "Blimey, beast, you've shrunk." Mark laughed, feeling lighter in every sense of the word. The audience gasped, the crew applauded, and social media buzzed with photos of Mark's transformation. But for Mark, the real reward wasn't the attention. It was waking up each morning knowing he had given himself a chance at a longer, healthier life. As he took his place behind the Chasers' podium, towering but now leaner, stronger, and more determined, Mark Labbett knew this was one quiz he was determined to keep winning. One step, one healthy choice, and one day at a time.